What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by Danklyfe Brand and yours truly, Dallas Clark. Today, we're discussing those Week 10 startums and sit-ems for the entirety of your Sunday and Monday matchups. We are not talking about Thursday Night Football, for it has passed. And if you're playing Jamar Chase, if you're playing against Jamar Chase in fantasy football this week, you might as well not even watch the games on Sunday, man. You just go ahead and go out there, build a snowman. You know what I mean? Go out there. I don't know. Maybe this is the weekend you take your girl out. Y'all go shopping at Target, hit the Starbucks, everything she's been wanting to do on Sundays. Because this is not looking like it's going to be your week if you're playing against Jamar Chase. However, you can get all the help that you can handle if you tune in on our live episode on Sunday mornings at 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. And that'll be Sunday mornings before your NFL pregame kickoffs here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network. And if you like our content, make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscriptions bar as well as that notifications bell, whether you're listening on the airwaves over on YouTube or the audio waves over on Spotify, your favorite place for podcasts. Without further ado, let's get everything started. So fill up your cup, roll something up, and let's take this journey. Get right into the news. Go ahead and on over to Germany, 7:30 in the morning out here in Colorado, 9:30 Eastern Time. They'll be looking at that New York Giants-Carolina game in Munich, Germany. I'm starting Tyrone Tracy. You're looking at Carolina having the worst rush defense in the NFL right now. They're an absolutely abysmal rush defense. It is the best running back matchup. Plus, you're looking at Tyrone Tracy doing the most with the opportunity that he has been given thus far this season. I'm also going to be starting Danny Dimes as a sleeper quarterback. Carolina is allowing the fourth most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks, and Danny Dimes is a top 7 quarterback in rushing yards right now. If you need a defense that you're streaming this week, the New York Giants defense and special teams is looking really good. I mean, it's seeming like we're starting a lot of the Giants players, but I will be staying away from Wan'Dale Robinson. His targets just are not turning into enough value at the current moment. If I have another option, I definitely will take Wan'Dale Robinson. And if you don't think you have another option, make sure you check out our Waiver Wire free agent episode that we released a couple days ago, or you can listen to the rest of this episode, and I'll give you a bunch of more starts that you should be able to swoop up off your waiver wire right now. Now let's get out and go into the early morning game slates after the Munich game. Starting out with New England at Chicago, we're starting DeAndre Swift, obviously. You're looking at him being involved heavily in the passing game, and New England has been extremely generous to running backs. Besides, this is also their first game, talking about Chicago, their first home game in over 3 weeks. So you're looking at Chicago definitely being comfortable being back at home, and you're looking at DeAndre Swift having double digits every week since week 4, since the week that I traded him to Elijah. Elijah, if you're listening, I hate you for that. Just playing. Anyway, we're going to be starting Drake May. He's averaging just under 19 points per game in PPR right now across the last 3 weeks in his 3 starts. He's averaging 45 rushing yards per game. You're looking at Drake May having good upside, and I like what he's been doing to this New England Patriots offense. I do not like Caleb Williams this week, though. I'm staying away from Caleb Williams. On the other side of the ball, he's struggled, and he's on a bad leg as well. However, on the other side of the ball, I will be starting Chicago's defense and special teams this week, especially if you need a streaming defense. Moving on to San Francisco at Tampa Bay, we're going to avoid Tampa Bay running backs. It's a very tough matchup for running backs right now. Plus, they're on a damn near even split. You're looking at Rachaad White getting the passing game work, Bucky Irving getting more running game work. It's too hard to decide right now to decipher through. If I had to pick one, I would take Rachaad White, but I would be avoiding them if I can. I will start Juwan Jennings this week. No team is allowing more yards to the slot than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I do look at Juwan Jennings, plus with the San Francisco 49ers wide receiving core being a little beaten up right now, Juwan Jennings is definitely in line for a big game. I'm going to be starting George Kittle. Obviously, Tampa Bay is allowing the 3rd most points per game to tight end this season thus far, so George Kittle is going to be in for another big game. And if you need a sleeper, Sterling Shepard, the former New York Giant, will be with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tampa Bay will have to throw against San Francisco if they are going to stand a chance. And Sterling Shepard so far has been getting a little bit of the number 1 wide receiver work in this offense as opposed to Jalen McMillian. Jalen McMillian's not a bad start, but I would rather start Sterling Shepard this week just due to where he lines up on the offensive scheme there. Moving into the Kansas City Chiefs home stadium there, where they're playing Denver against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm starting DeAndre Hopkins. He had his breakout game with Kansas City last week, and I think it's going to continue. You're looking at this Broncos defense being really good and shutting a lot of really good wide receivers down, but DeAndre Hopkins is being used in a lot of different ways in this offense, and DeAndre Hopkins is finding ways to get open, and he's going to become Patrick Mahomes' new favorite target. I will temper expectations on Javonte Williams. Kansas City is allowing less than 15 PPR points to running backs this season, so Javonte Williams may not have a crazy game. The ceiling might not be as high as it's been in previous weeks. I do think I will also be starting Kansas City's defense against the Denver Broncos. I've told you guys before that I'm a believer. I think what he's done to Cortland Sutton and this Denver Broncos offense has been great as he continues to go throughout the season. However, you're looking at this Kansas City defense being surprisingly really good, and Denver's offense just will not be able to match their firepower. Moving on into Indianapolis, Buffalo coming into Indy and taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, we're not starting Indianapolis Colts quarterback. You can start Josh Allen, obviously, against this defense. You're looking at Josh Downs being the best Indianapolis Colts wide receiver there can be right now drafted on your roster. If you have Michael Pittman, release him and pick up Josh Downs instead. You're looking at Josh Downs getting targeted on 45% of his routes. You're looking at him getting 9 targets in 5 of the last 6 games, no matter who is playing at quarterback. You're looking at him averaging 15.5 points through that 6-game stretch, and Buffalo is allowing the 6th most points to wide receivers coming out of the slot, which is exactly where Josh Downs plays the majority of his time in the offense. So I'm liking Josh Downs. Another sleeper you can start in this offense, and it isn't really necessarily a sleeper for the Buffalo Bills, is going to be Dalton Kincaid. He's got at least 6 targets in 6 straight games, plus the Colts are allowing the 6th most yards and the 3rd most fantasy football points to tight ends this season. Moving on, we got a couple more morning games. We got 3 more morning games to discuss, and if you've made it this far and you like the content and you like this information you're getting, make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscriptions bar as well as that notifications bell, because you have no idea how much that helps me out. Now, next game we're talking about is going to be Pittsburgh against the Washington Commanders, and first things first, I'm tempering expectations for Terry McLaurin. It's been great seeing Terry McLaurin having a great season so far, but Pittsburgh has top 10 against wide receivers this year and they're allowing the fewest PPR points in fantasy football this season right now to the wide receiver position. You're looking at a sleeper on the other side of the ball being Pat Freiermuth. He's struggled a little bit earlier on in the season, but you're looking at the Commanders really struggling against tight end. They've been getting a little bit better against wide receivers, but they're damn near dead last against tight end, and this might be the week that Muth goes crazy. Moving on into Jacksonville, Minnesota's moving to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. We're starting Aaron Jones. He's been running back 18, and he's been fantastic. You're looking at the Jaguars being bottom 5 against running backs, so everything is going great for Aaron Jones. Honestly, everything is going to be great for the entirety of the Minnesota Vikings offense. I'm starting Sam Darnold. He's got 16 points in Week 9. You're looking at Sam Darnold potentially going to be able to even go higher than that against this weak-ass Jaguars defense. You're starting TJ Hawkinson after you got to see him for a week. You're starting Jordan Addison. Obviously, you're starting Jay Jettas. On the other side of the ball, I will be starting Brian Thomas Jr. against the Minnesota Vikings. You're looking at Minnesota's defense presenting a safe floor against Brian Thomas Jr., and he's got extremely nice upside. He's hit over 20 points 3 times this season. So everything's going to be all wheels up for Brian Thomas Jr. Of course, Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne, they can be started as well. You don't really have a choice, but I don't think they have the craziest upside against this Jaguars defense, but they should have decent games, especially if they find the end zone. Now, this will be the last morning game we're talking about. Atlanta at New Orleans. You're looking at starting Atlanta's defense and special teams. First things first, New Orleans has nowhere to throw. I'm tempering expectations for Alvin Kamara because New Orleans has nowhere to throw. So you're having no doubt in your mind that Atlanta is going to make their primary focus in their defensive game plan going to be Alvin Kamara this week. I will be sitting Kyle Pitts. I know it's hard after what he's been doing these past couple of weeks, but we can't trust him as an every week tight end at this point yet. You're looking at him having 0 targets the last time the Atlanta Falcons played New Orleans. I think without Kyle Pitts finding the end zone, he's going to have a disappointing game. It's the definition of a boom or bust this week. Moving on into the afternoon, and we only have a couple of afternoon games. It's one of my least favorite things about when we have these heavy bye week weeks is that I feel like they could spread some of these morning games into the afternoon. As it stands, we only have 3 afternoon games, starting off with Tennessee at the Los Angeles Chargers. We're starting J.K. Dobbins. Tennessee struggles versus the run and against running back coming out of the backfield and catching the pass, which J.K. Dobbins is really good at. This is a run-first offense, and game script is going to be hella in J.K. Dobbins' favor this week. I will be starting the Los Angeles Chargers defense and special teams, and because of that, I'm going to be tempering my expectations for Tony Pollard. I think he has a good game, but who knows how the game script is going to look for the Tennessee Titans and if Tony Pollard is going to be extremely involved in this game. You are looking at the Los Angeles Chargers giving up the second fewest PPR points per game to running back as it stands right now, so I will be tempering that expectation for Tony Pollard. I will be starting Quentin Johnston for the Los Angeles Chargers. He's been playing extremely great, and I think that his volume is volume, and I think the volume that he is getting is going to bode well, at least in your flex position. Moving on into the next afternoon game, there's not really much to talk about here, but there is one big key point in this New York Jets Arizona Cardinals matchup. I will be sitting Marvin Harrison Jr. You're looking at him having fewer than 6 points in his last 6 games. This is an extremely bad matchup. He's going to be stuck to Sauce Gardner, and I think he's going to be lost in the sauce in today's game. You're looking at the Jets giving up the fewest points per game to wide receiver as it stands right now. I'm tempering expectation for Kyler Murray, and if you have a better quarterback option, then definitely start them this week. You're looking at, obviously, Breece Hall being able to play, Garrett Wilson being able to play, Devontae Adams, if you need him, can be a flex option for you as well. So kind of everything is normal here outside of that Marvin Harrison Jr. sit that I would be taking this week. And the last afternoon game, most likely America's game of the week, looking at the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys. We get to watch the Dallas Cowboys get that ass whooped one more time on national television. You're looking at starting Devontae Smith because the Cowboys defense is fucking terrible. You're looking at back-to-back games. Devontae Smith has had over 18 points as well. Plus, you add in the fact that A.J. Brown is banged up, and it's kind of a coin toss. If A.J. Brown is healthy and he plays, it bodes well for Devontae Smith. If A.J. Brown misses time, it bodes well for Devontae Smith. So I feel like no matter what situation you're going into, playing against this Dallas Cowboys miserable, abysmal defense, not having a bunch of their starters in there, you're looking at Devontae Smith potentially having an extremely big game in what should be, but probably shouldn't be, America's game of the week. Now, moving on into Sunday Night Football, we're actually waiting all day for Sunday night for a damn decent game this week. Sorry to the nation for what the Indianapolis Colts did last week. Sucks that we lost our New York Jets game next week on Sunday Night Football, but honestly, the world is so sick of seeing the New York Jets on primetime. I'm so glad we got a different game next week. But this week we got Detroit at Houston, which should be a very good game. These are two high-powered offenses that have had their struggles as of late. But both of these offenses are really good, and both of these defenses will let up points. I'm starting Jameson Williams in his return from the suspension. You do not sit a wide receiver against the Houston secondary, and you do not sit a wide receiver in this offense on Sunday Night Football. You're looking at him being returning from this 2-game suspension, and he was wide receiver 15 before leaving on that suspension there. He had 14 or more points in 6 of the 7 games that he played in this season. So I definitely think that Jameson Williams could be started immediately once he comes back this week. I will be sitting C.J. Stroud, and I'm going to be loud about it. He's only had 3 games with multiple touchdowns this season. You're looking at the Detroit Lions allowing the 3rd fewest points per game to quarterback this season. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins looks like he probably won't even be back this week. I know we were all depending on Nico Collins to be back this week, but looks like he might miss it. I know he missed practice on Thursday, and they're thinking with him missing practice on Thursday, he most likely will not be activated by Sunday. So it looks like we have to wait one more week, Nico Collins owners. I will be sitting Sam Laporta on the Detroit Lions offense. He's got 2 games over 10 points, and Houston is the worst matchup in the league for tight ends. Their secondary is terrible, but they do be shutting down tight ends this season. Lastly, we're going to be talking about the Monday Night Football game going into the Los Angeles Rams. We had some pretty good primetime games this week, but Miami, Los Angeles Rams, That seems like two teams that came in really banged up, and this could be a very explosive game now that both of these teams are back to full health. With the Rams being back to full health, I think you can start Matthew Stafford. He's got 6 touchdowns in the last 2 games. That's the 2 games that Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua have been back in the lineup. It's been a slow start for him, but he went off, and it's a very similar script that he had last year. He had a very slow start at the beginning of the year, but then started to go off in the second half of the season, and he's doing the same thing this year, and it's working out well that he's got his wide receivers back. I will be sitting one wide receiver this week. It'll be Jalen Waddle. You're looking at him having 2 targets in the last 3 games. His 1 target last week came late in the 4th quarter. What the hell is going on with Jalen Waddle's involvement? I don't understand why the Dolphins are struggling so bad to get him involved. Everything on the paper shows Jalen Waddle should have everything he needs to have the games of his life and have some really good times on Sundays. And you should have a good time as a Jalen Waddle owner starting him, but it just has not been coming to fruition. So I need to see some more from Jalen Waddle. I know that hurts because I went out and traded for Jalen Waddle earlier in the season. You're looking at him getting 2 targets in the last 3 games. And on top of it, it's a tough matchup against this Los Angeles Rams secondary. So stay away from Jalen Waddle if you can. That's going to do it for the startums and situms for week 10. I'll also have a trade episode coming out at the end of this week and the beginning of next week, as I know trade deadlines are coming up. Plus, like I said, we have our live Sunday, a live stream pregame kickoff show at 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. That's going to do it for us here today at the Huddle Chat Sports Network. Make sure you always keep your chin up and your attitude down. And y'all have a good one. Peace out.